Chag Sameach, everyone. Good morning. You know, we often think about Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur as being the holidays of tshuva, of repentance. But really, according to the rabbis, it continues all the way until Shmini Atzeret. So in case you didn't know, you're still in the period of tshuva. It's still not too late to ask for forgiveness for those things that we need to work on. And yet, the high holidays of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur in many ways feel so different than Sukkot. Right? On Yom Kippur in particular, our focus is inwards, focusing on our own needs to change, focusing on ourselves, who we want to be, planning the year. And Sukkot, yes, we're in shul right now, but we're out there in nature, right? We grab our lulav and etrog, we sit out in a hut. And as I was saying to Daniel Silverman the other day, it feels like on Yom Kippur, we all try to be like the Kohen Gadol, right? We're wearing white, we're trying to be really spiritual. And as soon as Yom Kippur ends, we all become lumberjacks, right? Anybody else have that experience? You put on, Daniel was wearing his flannel the next day, and I was like, yeah, that's exactly it. Suddenly, we're running to Home Depot as if we know exactly what we're doing over there. Everyone's running around with the measuring tape, you know. Anyone else end up with splinters that they weren't expecting? And there's a shift, right? Suddenly, we're working with our hands, and we're out there in nature, and we're building something. And I wanted to share with you just a little bit of Torah this morning, which I think really connects to that idea of the sense that there is a change, that we're doing something different, even though it's still this period of tshuva, of repentance, and maybe that's not exactly the case. Mishnah from Pirkei Avot. Rabbi Yacov Omer, right? Rabbi Yacov, not this one, but one who lived a little bit before me. המהלך בדרך ושונה ומפסיק ממשנתו ואומר מה נאה אילן זה, מה נאה ניר זה, מלין עליו כאילו מתחייב בנפשו. Rabbi Yaakov liked to say, imagine the scenario. One is walking along the road, reviewing their lessons. Hamalech baderech v'shoneh. Learning Torah, walking down the street, learning Torah, and then suddenly interrupts their learning, their Mishnah, their repetition. And what are they doing? They look up. By the way, this is the kind of thing that happens to me all the time. They look up, like, oh, look at that beautiful tree. What a beautiful bush, right? Does that happen to you? You're walking along, you might be thinking about something, and then squirrel. At least to me that happens. But the Mishnah says something pretty wild. Pretty wild. What is this person considered like? To what are they compared? Ki'ilu mitchayev benafsho. They are like someone who is found guilty of a capital offense. Almost as if to say, this person deserves to be either killed or cut off from the Jewish people. That's what this Mishnah says. Anybody else find this wild? You're walking down the street, you're learning Torah, you allow yourself for some reason to be interrupted because you see something that you say is, wow, look how beautiful that is. You're cut off. You did something really horrible. So on the pshat, on sort of the basic reading or level of this Mishnah, it seems to be really focusing on the importance of learning Torah. That one who is learning Torah, and especially if you're at a really high level, you're learning Torah all the time, can't interrupt it. You have to stay really focused in it. And if you interrupt your Torah learning, it's like you've done something really horrible. I'm going to say, I hate that explanation for this. First of all, because our world is beautiful. And also, there are things that aren't so beautiful, but we are meant to engage in what is going on around us. So I want to share with you two alternate ways of understanding this Mishnah, and I connect to both of them. They both come from the founder of the Hasidic movement, the Baal Shem Tov. So the first one really hinges on the word umafsik mimishnato. The one is walking along their way, and then they mafsik, and then they stop, they interrupt their learning. The Baal Shem Tov says, what's the problem with this? The problem is if you understand looking at this beautiful tree and noticing it and noticing how special it is and what's unique over there as stopping from your Torah learning. If you actually view it as an interruption, then that's the problem. But if you can see that this tree, nature, the beauty that we see around us is actually a part of Torah, then it's a whole different ball game. I just wanted to make a Jay's reference, by the way, somewhere in there. Then it's completely different, right? And so what the Baal Shem Tov says is the problem with this person is that they don't see that Torah is everywhere, that godliness is everywhere, that actually beauty, that everything can be transformed into something spiritual and incredible. But there's another teaching that the Baal Shem Tov brings here. Somebody is learning Torah, focused fully over and over again on their Torah learning. Well, I'm going to say it a little bit differently. We're sitting in shul on Yom Kippur, and what are we focusing on? On ourselves. I need to get better, right? We know that in fact, when we say Ashamnu and all the al-chetz, they're in plural. But it's very easy to suddenly sink into this level of actually focusing on ourselves. What did I do? Who do I want to be? What are the ways that I want to transform myself? The Baal Shem Tov says, somebody who is walking along the way, learning Torah, repenting, and suddenly says, Ma na'eh ilan zeh, how beautiful is this tree? The Baal Shem Tov says, what is this tree? Oneself. As it says in Dvarim, Ki Adam etz hasadeh, that a human being is like a tree in the field, that if one starts to see themselves as the center of everything, if one sees themselves as becoming so amazing through their Torah study, maybe through their prayer, maybe through their repentance, then that is someone who actually cuts themselves off from the rest of the world. So two teachings here from the Baal Shem Tov. One is that spirituality, beauty, Torah, godliness can be found everywhere. So yes, when we're in shul on a day like today, or when we're in shul on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, yes, hopefully we can connect with the divine. But then we have to go out into the world and we have to build sukkahs. And we have to grab the lulav and etrog and the hadas and the rava, and we have to, right, throw it around, kind of in a way of saying there is godliness and spirituality everywhere, and we have to pursue it, and we have to bring it into the world. And if chas v'shalom, if we end up through that process seeing ourselves as the center of the universe, that everything is about us, then we've also cut ourselves off from God, cut ourselves off from our fellow human beings. And that's the reminder of the sukkah, that in fact, we are vulnerable, and what do we need? We need each other. We need to cling to each other. So we have to see in every other human being the potential for beauty, the potential for good, and we have to work together to bring the godliness and the good into our world. Wish you all a Chag Sameach,